List week continues here at SEC Unfiltered. These are my SEC quarterback rankings entering media days as the countdown to kickoff continues. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use promo code SECU for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, guys, it's our friends over at Prize Picks, promo code SECU to get your first deposit match today. The countdown to kickoff continues. SEC Media Days is just around the corner, and these are my SEC quarterback rankings as list week continues here at SEC Unfiltered. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into everything, beginning with number 16. And what you're going to see, guys, in these different lists that you're going to see across social media, whether it be power rankings, it be quarterback rankings, whatever it might be, it's very popular to stick Vanderbilt down at the bottom. And I know many folks tuning in would expect, okay, Diego Pavia, he's going to be 16 because he's the Vandy starting quarterback. I say, to quote the famous Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend, because at number 16 in my quarterback rankings, the starting quarterback comes from Auburn, not from Vandy. Peyton Thorne of the Auburn Tigers is number 16 in my rankings. And admittedly, guys, I am not a big Peyton Thorne guy. I have not been. I did not understand the decision by Hugh Freeze to not go out and get a quarterback. And I understand folks will say, hey, Auburn's more than a quarterback away. And while I understand that, that doesn't mean you don't go out and get the best possible available dude. There were guys out there who could have beaten Peyton Thorne out for the job. And maybe, just maybe, he takes a step forward. Heck, I've got a little glimmer of hope and some optimism that with Hugh Freeze taking over the play calling and Peyton Thorne having spent the full year going through spring ball and summer workouts, that maybe, just maybe, he'll improve. But guys, the bar is literally in hell when you look at Peyton Thorne, what he was last year. Was at the bottom of the SEC in passing yards per game, and it was by a wide margin. And when this dude played defenses with a pulse, when he played elite defenses, he pissed down his leg every single time. So I got to see it from Peyton Thorne, guys. There may not be a team in the Auburn Tigers, there may not be a team in the SEC that improved their playmakers around their quarterback more than Auburn. And I tell you this, though, if they had the guy, if they had a gunslinger I believed in, I might be picking Auburn to win 9 or 10 games. I might literally be thinking of Auburn as a college football playoff contender. But I just don't trust Peyton Thorne right now. And for all those reasons, he's at number 16 in my rankings. At number 15, I just mentioned him from Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. And guys, the reason he's at 15 over Peyton Thorne, this guy literally beat Auburn and beat Peyton Thorne last year, drubbed him in his own house in Jordan-Hare. Listen, Diego Pavia's stats, he may not have the best stats when this thing is over. He may have the worst stats. He may be at the bottom. But his team around him is not great. We all know that. But when you look at Diego Pavia and his skill set, guys, I'd take that over Peyton Thorne right now. I'd take it over right now. I'd take it over him right now. Easy pick for me. So Diego Pavia, number 15, I'm really curious to see, is he going to be able to be that spark on the offensive side the Commodores need? He's got a dual threat ability. And again, guys, he's won an SEC game, which when you look at the bottom of this list, that's a lot more than a couple of these guys can say. More than a couple can say. So Diego Pavia has an SEC win under his belt. Maybe, just maybe, he brings that magic to Vandy. But right now, I do have him at number 15 in my rankings. At number 14, guys, I go to Columbia, South Carolina. Gamecock starter Lenoris Sellers. Now, listen, there's a lot of upside here. There's a lot to be excited about. You saw him in limited action last year against Furman, against Vanderbilt. Got in there a little bit against Kentucky. But you saw the passing touchdown he had against Furman. You saw the rushing touchdown against the Vanderbilt Commodores. I mean, this kid, if you're building a quarterback on NCAA, if you're building a quarterback on the video game, I mean, this is essentially what you're looking for. Has a strong arm, can run the football. He has the physicality and the size. Guys, we just don't know what we're getting. That's the bottom line. We don't know when the live bullets are flying and he's playing in time that isn't garbage time. What is he going to be, right? He's got the tools. He's got the skill set. But when it's week 2 in Lexington, Kentucky, and he's got to go make a play in the fourth quarter, the third quarter, whatever, what is Lenoris Sellers going to be for South Carolina? So it's, guys, it's just more of the unknown than anything. It's no knock against him and his potential as a player. But right now, until we see more of Lenoris Sellers, 14 is right for him. He could very easily move up this list. Like I said, the upside that he's got, you could put it up against anybody in the Southeastern Conference. But for right now, number 14, Lenoris Sellers of South Carolina. At number 13, I've got Brock Vandagriff of the Kentucky Wildcats. Very similar to Sellers from the standpoint of we just haven't seen a lot. There's just not a lot on tape, hasn't taken many meaningful snaps. This kid is a former 5-star. Very similar to Sellers from the standpoint of he's got the big body, the build, isn't quite as fleet of foot, but he can run the football, has a strong arm. Again, with Vandagriff, there's a couple guys down here. We just don't know. We don't know what he's going to be at a starter. I am optimistic with those receivers he's got to throw to and the skill position players he's got there in Lexington. I do feel confident he's going to be a really, really solid player for them, but I just don't really know what I'm getting from Brock Vandagriff right now, and that's one of the biggest reasons I've got him down here at number 13. At number 12, I've got Mississippi State's Blake Shapen. I'm a little bit higher on Shapen than some others. I mean, this is a guy that at one point was all Big 12. I mean, this is a dude that he's had some big-time success at a Power 5 level, right? He's had success as a starting quarterback. The rest of the team around him is not great. They're going to have to figure it out. I am excited to watch Shapen and Kelly Akari hook up this season. I think that's going to be one of the more underrated quarterback wide receiver tandems in the SEC, if you will. But again, with Shapen, everything's new, right? So it's going to be about grasping that new offensive scheme, new offensive system, all the terminology from Jeff Lebby, what have you. So it's going to be all new. I do like Shapen, though. I was kind of interested and curious, like, why he was getting so much hate, especially from Mississippi State folks. I mean, I think he's a solid player. He's got to stay healthy, of course. Injuries hampered him last year. But I think Shapen could be one of the surprises in the SEC, especially with the way Mississippi State is going to throw the football, right? Their bigger problems and questions are on defense. I think they're going to score. I think Shapen's going to be a big part of that. Number 11, I've got Jaylen Green of the Arkansas Razorbacks. And listen, I don't want to fall victim to spring game hype and getting overexcited because what we saw in a spring game, because spring game guys largely don't matter. But I tell you this, Jaylen Green's a guy coming from Boise State, was at one time the Mountain West Freshman of the Year. He's got that. He looks like KJ Jefferson, honestly. He's got that build. He's got that size. He can run the football. He's got a really strong arm. One of the problems he's had in his career is downfield accuracy. And what I saw in the spring game, granted, it's a spring game, but if you can make the throw, you can make the throw. And at minimum, what Jaylen Green showed was the potential to make that downfield throw, right? To hit a guy deep down the field, to fit a ball in a tight window. And I think under Bobby Petrino, I'd be lying to you if I told you that. It'd make me feel even more favorable or make me feel even better about what Jaylen Green can be. I love the skill set. I'm starting to drink some of that Razorback Kool-Aid when it comes to Jaylen Green and what this offense can be and what he can be specifically at the quarterback position. Lot to prove. Hasn't taken a snap in the SEC, but again, another one of those signal callers with tons of upside. And like I mentioned, guys, 11 through 14, you can really shuffle these up however you want. A lot of them are really similar players. They're all very inexperienced. There's a lot of hype and potential. Going to be interesting to see who pans out. But again, at 11, I've got Jaylen Green from Arkansas. At number 10, I've got Jackson Arnold of the Oklahoma Sooners. This is probably the one, guys. If there's anybody who could vault from their current position to like top 5 in the league, I think Jackson Arnold could be that guy. I cannot wait to watch him and Deion Burks. Deion Burks is going to be an absolute electric factory at the wide receiver position. And again, we saw Jackson Arnold in the bowl game against Arizona, right? There was some really good, there was some bad, and there was some ugly, right? And it's all going to be about limiting those big mistakes if you're Jackson Arnold. That's what killed him in the bowl game. And he's a bit of a gunslinger, right? And you don't want to take that away. You don't want to take away things that make him who he is. But I think Jackson Arnold, he's got the skill set. He's a big-time ball player, right? He's got the arm. He can get outside of the pocket. He's got some wiggle as well. The kid is a certified ball player. He was one of the most coveted quarterbacks on the recruiting circuit for a reason. I think he could do big things at Oklahoma. I really do. I think, again, a new offense, Seth Luttrell taking over for the departed Jeff Lebby. but I like Jackson Arnold's game a lot. I will not be surprised, guys, if we're talking about midway through the season, we're talking about him as a top 5 quarterback. I mean, I really think he's got all the skill set there. It's just how does it come together? First year in the SEC, he's got a shoddy O-line in front of him too, a makeshift O-line. How does that come together? We may not see the full potential pan out this year. And again, for me with Jackson Arnold, the biggest thing, raise that floor, right? Don't make those back-breaking mistakes. You're going to have a great defense to lean on. Be a playmaker, right? Do you, but limit the mistakes. That's the key for Jackson Arnold this year. Number 9, I've got Garrett Nussmeier of the LSU Tigers. Nussmeier is right here at the middle point for me for a reason, because I don't really know what to expect, admittedly, from Garrett Nussmeier, guys. You know, you saw him in the bowl game. He was fantastic against Wisconsin, led that comeback late. That was an awesome game and a great way to really kickstart his career as the starter at LSU. But we've seen him be inconsistent, right? We've seen the inconsistencies from Garrett Nussmeier. I think he can be a solid quarterback. He's got great weapons around him, right? Caleb Jackson, the running back position. I think they're going to be much more balanced this year. I think the wide receiver room, obviously you got to replace a lot, but I think there's still tons of talent in that room. So I think Garrett Nussmeier, listen, he's not going to be Jayden Daniels, and nobody's going to be Jayden Daniels. I think he's a solid player. Again, there's a lot of unknowns with him too, guys, because now he's QB1. He's not filling in the second half of an SEC title game. He's not playing in a bowl game where guys are opting out. Like, he's not coming in late in the game against Alabama where the score is kind of settled, if you will. Like, this is his team now. This is Garrett Nussmeier's team. So he's got weapons. He's got guys around him. How does he use them? He doesn't have to be a hero all the time like Jayden Daniels did. I'm curious, do we get consistency from Nussmeier? That's the thing I feel like he's been lacking over the course of his career. At number 8, I got Conor Weigman of the Texas A&M Aggies. Conor Weigman's another guy. I could see him vault up this list. My biggest question with Conor Weigman, he's a great NFL prospect. He's a great prospect in general. He can be a great college quarterback. He can be a top 5. Guys, I think he can be a top 3 SEC quarterback. Can he stay healthy? The best ability is availability, and he just flat out has not been available over these last couple years. Now, granted, is that necessarily his fault? Maybe not. His offensive lines haven't done him a whole lot of favors, but the scouting report that I've gotten, guys, and I'm not trying to throw the kid under the bus or criticize the kid, even whatever. I'm just giving you from what I've heard from people and what they've said. Conor Weigman's a quarterback that if you get in his face and you get him with one good shot, he's a different guy. So, can Conor Weigman, can his offensive line protect him, but also can we see Conor Weigman take that next step, right, and not back down from the challenge, not back down if there's pressure? Can he improvise? Can he make the big plays? Conor Weigman, can he stay healthy? Because Conor Weigman's got all the skill set, guys. He's got all the tools. He's got everything you need. He's got all you need in your bag to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. If he can stay healthy. If you tell me right now Conor Weigman has a completely 100% healthy season from start to finish, I put him in the top 5 of quarterbacks, maybe even the top 3. That's how good I think he can be. At number 7, I go Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. I'm drinking the Nico Kool-Aid, man. I'm high on Nico. I like Nico a lot. Again, there's a lot to prove here because he hasn't been QB1. He started in that bowl game against Iowa. But what you saw in that bowl game, guys. We've been hearing about Nico, the Nico hype forever. And I think a lot of Tennessee fans are going to think 7's low for Nico. I'm giving Nico an opportunity to prove something to me because, of course, my quarterback rankings are going to be published throughout the season. They're subject to change. They are going to change based off the way guys perform. I'm giving Nico an opportunity to prove something here because, again, he's got a lot to prove, right? This guy has never started an SEC game. Like, it's much more than just starting against Iowa. Granted, I don't know if people give him enough credit for what he did against the Hawkeyes because that was one of the best defenses in college football the season ago, right? With the 3 rushing touchdowns he had. I think the way he was able to get outside of the pocket, improvise, make throws in tight windows, he's got the arm strength, he's got the athleticism, he's going to be able to run the football. And people have been having this conversation, which I think is kind of strange. Is he more like Hendon Hooker or is he more like Joe Milton? There's just like people want something to talk about. They want to compare. I think he's more like Nico. Like I think he's going to be his own guy. But if you're talking, is he an upgrade? With all due respect to Joe Milton, he's absolutely an upgrade at the quarterback position. Again, this kid, one of the most highly touted prospects we've seen at the quarterback spot. Also, by the way, guys, it doesn't hurt. he's in a great system for quarterbacks. Like, he's going to put up video game numbers under Josh Heupel. Again, they're going to be able to run the football with the quarterback. They have not been able to do that. Hendon did it a little bit. Joe Milton virtually did it none at all. Nico, they're going to now have that in their package. I can't wait to see what that looks like in the Josh Heupel system at 7 right now, because, again, still a lot to prove. But I think Nico, we're going to be praising him a lot over the next couple of years. At number 6, I've got Graham Mertz of the Florida Gators. Guys, what's funny enough, Graham Mertz was a guy that admittedly this time last year, I ranked 14th out of 14 quarterbacks in my SEC quarterback rankings at that time. And Graham Mertz, some are going to balk at this and scoff, and oh my gosh, why is Graham Mertz so high? I refuse to not give Graham Mertz the credit he deserves. And listen, I understand he's checked down Charlie. He checked down a lot. How are we going to blame a guy for just taking the correct play, taking the check down when it's there? There's too many guys in college football that don't fall in love with the check down. They try to force things down the field, and they get themselves in trouble. Now, does Graham Mertz need to take some more shots down the field? Sure, I'd like to see that. But, I mean, the high completion percentage, that's not something you're going to complain about. You look at the numbers, guys. He kept the interception total in single digits, low single digits, had around 20 or so touchdowns. He was fantastic for Florida. Florida might have a bunch of issues. Quarterback ain't one of them. I love Graham Mertz's game. Again, the biggest thing for him, got to get the football down the field, got to push that football vertically. But, I mean, I think Graham Mertz is a gamer. There are a lot of teams in the SEC that could use Graham Mertz under center. And, again, I just refuse to underrate this dude. He may not have the upside of a Nico or a Conor Weigman or some of the others down the list, but he is steady Eddie for Florida. He proved us all wrong last year. He was incredible for the Gators. And I think if they're going to overachieve, if Florida's going to overachieve, get to a bowl game, Graham Mertz is going to be a big reason why. Getting into the top 5, guys, at number 5, I got Brady Cook of the Missouri Tigers. No, I don't have Brady Cook number 1 like some others, but I do have him at number 5. Warrior, gamer, winner. That's the best way to describe Brady Cook. Again, he doesn't have all the intangible. He's probably not going to have a crazy long NFL career, but Brady Cook, I look at him, if you recall Connor Shaw at South Carolina, greatest quarterback in school history. Not saying they're identical, but that's the type of game and skill set when I look at Brady Cook that he has, right? He's a dude that, again, came on the scene last year. This is a guy, this time last year, Mizzou fans were calling for his backup. There were Mizzou fans that wanted Sam Horn to get that starting job. They wanted Sam Horn to be the day 1 starting quarterback for Mizzou last year. Boy, oh boy, isn't it funny to look back on conversations like that. Again, you look at Brady Cook, guys, he's got some of the best weapons in the SEC with Luther Burden, Theo Weiss. I think also Carroll and Noel, they're in the backfield. They're going to be fantastic running the football. The offensive line is going to be solid. Again, I put Brady Cook in the top 5, and I put him at 5 because, again, he's a gamer. He's a warrior. I don't think he's number 1 in the SEC. I don't think that. I don't believe that. I don't think in regards to his ceiling, it's not as high as some other guys. His floor is extremely high, though. Like, I think at this point, a veteran guy, veteran presence, you know what you're getting out of Brady Cook, which is a pretty damn good product and one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Number 5 for me. At number 4, I've got Jaylen Milroe with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Jaylen Milroe was a guy. Again, he probably doesn't get enough credit for how good he was last year. Behind the worst offensive line, arguably, and I don't even know if it's arguably, the worst offensive line in Alabama school history. I mean, it was terrible. It was atrocious. And Jaylen Milroe was still able to make it work. The thing he's got going for him, guys, more than anything, when he steps on the field, he's the best athlete on the field. Bottom line, period, point blank in the story. Now, in Kalen DeBoer's system, in Kalen DeBoer's offense, a guy who took Michael Penix Jr. and did what he did with him. I'm not saying Jaylen Milroe is that guy, but he can be pretty darn close, I think, right? The biggest thing for Milroe, we know he can throw the home run ball. We know he can check the ball down. Can he work the intermediate passing game? And I want to see Jaylen Milroe take that next step as a quarterback, right? When you looked at the national, or not the game against Michigan, the semifinal to go to the national championship, there were times where it was like first read, take off. That was Jaylen Milroe at times, right? It's just, you wonder with the progressions, is he doing things? It's not about, is he one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC or in the country? Is he a national championship caliber quarterback? I think he can be. Needs to take that next step. But again, Jaylen Milroe, guys, one of the best athletes in the country at the position. And certainly his throwing abilities are very underrated. Like, you look back at his numbers, he can throw the football, spin it as well as anybody. But I have him in that 4 spot. At number 3, I've got Jackson Dart of the Ole Miss Rebels. Love this kid's game. Again, he's a grinder. He's a warrior as well. He's a battler. Can throw it as well as anybody in the country. Can also run the football. We saw him with a great hurdle last year in that game against LSU. He's going to help out. He's going to help Ole Miss put up insane offensive numbers, right? They play fast. They play up tempo. And now, guys, the helmet communication. I mean, I can't wait to see what Jackson Dart does. And he's got all these weapons at his disposal. So, I mean, the kid, he's a complete player, complete quarterback. Got to go out and win the big game, right? They got Georgia on the schedule. Got to be able to live up to the hype and the expectations. And you know what's funny, guys, is I think we all felt like Jackson Dart was going to be the starter this time last year. But even in Oxford, there was some conversation. Hey, they brought in the dude from Oklahoma State. Maybe he can push for the job. Is it going to be somebody else? Is Walker Howard? Is he going to push for the job? Like, to think back on those conversations, kind of wild. This is Jackson Dart's team. That's only going to help him this year. He is the undisputed QB1 going into the season. And for that reason and his skill set and everything, I think he will be for Ole Miss. I've got him 3 on my list. At number 2, Quinn Ewers of the Texas Longhorns is second for me in the SEC. And Quinn Ewers immediately, right? Texas joins the league. He's immediately the second best quarterback in the conference. I think that's so. I think that's true. I think Quinn Ewers, the biggest thing for Quinn is, what is his legacy game? Like, what is the game you point to and say, man, that's the game that defined the legacy of Quinn Ewers. Like, that's the game that Quinn Ewers put himself on the map and really made a name for himself. I don't know that he's had that game. I don't know that he's had it quite yet. But, guys, this is a college football playoff semifinal quarterback, right? Like, this is one of the best in the country. He's been fantastic throughout his entire career. Got to stay healthy, of course. That shouldn't be a problem. He's got a great team around him. And I think what he does for that Texas football team is invaluable. The field general, if you will. And I'm not calling him a game manager, obviously, but just the leader of that football team, the leader of that offense. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro as well. He can run the football a little bit here and there, got some wiggle in his game. Obviously, what he does passing the football, again, he's got great weapons around him this year. And I do think he is number 2 when it comes to SEC quarterbacks. And that brings me to number 1. My number 1 quarterback in my rankings, Carson Beck of the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't understand the Carson Beck slander, guys. I don't understand the Carson Beck disrespect. I don't get I don't know if I want to call it hatred, but this dude just doesn't give the credit he deserves. Listen, I understand he's on a great team. I get that. And a lot of folks, for whatever reason, they want to punish this kid for being on a great team. But guys, it'd be one thing if he's kind of middle of the pack statistically and a great team around him is carrying him. Guys, we are talking about a guy that led the SEC in passing, threw for just shy of 4,000 yards. I don't care how good your team is around you. That doesn't happen by accident. Like, I know people want to be different and go against the grain and say this guy's this and this guy's that. Carson Beck is the best quarterback in this league. He is. I don't understand why we have such trouble, or why some people have such trouble giving the kid the credit he deserves, right? You got to have the right trigger man. You got to have the right gunslinger. Georgia would not be what they were last year and what they're going to be this year without Carson Beck at the helm. And I'm excited to watch, because I think there's going to be a chip on the shoulder for Carson Beck to continue to go out there and prove people wrong. I mean, again, it was his first year as a starter last year, guys. And again, he led the SEC in passing. So what do you think he's going to be this year? Only better. He's only going to be better. And his best is one of the best in college football, and I think the best in the SEC. And for that reason, he is number 1 when it comes to quarterback rankings for me in the SEC. So, guys, when you look at this list, how would you rank the best gunslingers? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Where would you change things up? The beauty's in the banter. Let the banter begin. Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Fiddles of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.